can call me Onesimus. That was a Greek word for useful. It was a common slave name around Paul's time, and I hope I can live up to that. Today I'm going to try to hit a few things, a little current event action, and I'm just going to try to get bogged down in and nerd out on at least the first 5 verses of Genesis. A lot of people never read this, and it's very, very rich. But anyway, on current events, it appears that Donald Trump has won the presidency again. Folks, we are not out of the woods yet. He has to live to Inauguration Day at least. And they have to peacefully turn over the reins of power here in the U.S. And I got the feeling that the road between now and January 20th is going to be a little rough. So be aware of your surroundings and try to make sure you got a little food and water, and you can kind of keep things to a minimum as far as going out of the house. If you're in a densely populated area, I have a feeling there will be some unrest. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's nice and peaceful and we have a kind of kumbaya moment, but I don't see it happening. But anyway, don't let it discourage you. Understand that it's just going to be like this. If it's bad, these are the birth pains that the Bible was talking about. You know, they're going to get more frequent and they're going to get more difficult. They're going to get worse. But anyway, moving on. There was a gentleman named Herbert Spencer. Coincidentally, he was a Victorian age thinker. And coincidentally, he is the person who coined the term survival of the fittest. He was one of Darwin's advocates back in the day. And, you know, he came up with this great discovery, you know. And, I mean, I don't know that he was where it totally originated, but he was the first to state it publicly, you know, and for it to be recorded or cataloged or whatever as, I guess, a valid theory that kind of checked out at the time. He had stated that there were 5 things required to have a meaningful universe, and it was something to the effect of time, action, space, matter, force. Let me see. Where are we? Yep, there he is. He coined the term survival of the fittest. And yeah, it was, what was it? It was time, force, action, space, and matter. But there are other categories. I mean, how do you explain emotion, stuff like that? But anyway, for the most part, he was sort of, you know, he kind of had a grasp on at least the physical or material aspects of our universe. And he was hailed, and it was just the biggest discovery ever at the time. And let's read the first 2 verses. Or you know what, we'll just stop at, yeah, we'll read the first 2 verses. And kind of nerd out on that a little bit. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Okay, so there's your first 2 verses in the Bible. And I mean, I don't know, maybe Spencer read the Bible. I don't know. But anyway, in the beginning, that was time. God, that was force. Created, that was the first action. The heavens, that was space, and the earth, that was matter. That was all in the first verse. And the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness. It was basically unorganized matter, and it was without life. It was desolate. It didn't have plants, animals, etc. And darkness was over the surface of the deep. There was no useful energy as we understand it, not even light. And the Spirit, the Holy Spirit of God, His energy and power inside and outside of our universe, okay? And the Spirit of God was hovering. The original Hebrew word, rakaf, pronounced rakaf, it meant to flutter, move, or shake. Useful energy was introduced to the creation at this point when the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. When it says over the surface of the waters, I mean, you know, picture this. The whole earth was covered with water. If we look down here in Genesis 1:9, I believe, it says, "Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear." So apparently there was no dry land visible. So anyway, back up here, you know, the whole earth was covered with water. And when the Spirit of God, you know, came into action as far as manipulating the matter and introducing energy into the creation, it started to organize things, or He started to organize things. And another visual here is, it was dark. It was dark. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Well, before this, it was dark. It was darkness over everything. The energy was unorganized. So it kind of tells you who the Spirit of God is. It's His power and energy inside and outside of our universe. When we think about our spirit, we were created in His image. It's our power. It's our energy. It's that part of our person. We are triune like God. We are body, spirit, and soul. The original Hebrew word for soul it meant life. And for the elect, it's eternal. Even for the non-elect, it's eternal. But those two states after this life will be very different, you know, for the elect and the non-elect. But anyway, God saw that the light was good. Now, this word good, it meant it was perfect. It was a great idea. And this is where it really starts to get interesting to me. This kind of really stands in the face of the theory of evolution here. And it's right in the first little passage. And God separated the light from the darkness. I think this meant He initiated the rotation of the earth. His energy was present, and He made some light. And notice He didn't say, "I made the sun," or "let there be a sun and light." He made the light first. We see stars now that may not even be there. So it's possible for the light to be there without the star being there. So anyway, He initiated the rotation of the earth. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. And there was evening and there was morning, one day. The word used here was yom. In the context of day and night, it meant a 24-hour cycle, not billions of years. So anyway, when you slow down and you start really looking at these words individually, it makes it so easy to understand the Bible. Just this passage right here, just verses, 1 and 2, really, they are packed with more valid and scientifically proven information about the creation than any other, allegedly deity inspired or man inspired written about a deity book that we have. It happens to be a bestseller of all time as well. You look at that first verse, and at the time, I guess Herbert Spencer was seen as one of the very smartest men on the planet, probably, or at least in Europe, in his area. And God just mocks him right out of the gate with the first verse of the Bible. Professing themselves wise, they became fools. It took us thousands of years to put into words about our creation what God had already inspired Moses to put into words thousands of years ago. It's quite amazing the depth that's here. But science is actually what brought me to a solid foundation of faith in God, and analyzing his words with a scientific, perspective. I can't find anything wrong with it. I can't find where it disagrees with science. There are other books that definitely disagree with science. Some pretty outlandish things are in some other, I guess, quote, religious books. But anyway, then God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. God made the expanse and separated the waters that were below the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse heaven, and there was evening and morning, and there was morning a second day. Apparently, our planet was like a hyperbaric chamber, and there was moisture in the air, I guess at the outside of our atmosphere, and that atmosphere air was the first heaven. It was that space between the waters of the earth and the land of the earth and the water that was present in the atmosphere. And if that seems hard to understand for you, we still have water in our atmosphere. We have clouds. They're just not as a protective layer on the outside that's all solid and organized. It's vaporized water that's just randomly in our atmosphere. But anyway, then God said, let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear. So basically, the way this reads, there was one continent, let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Just the way it reads, there was one continent, and what do they call it? Pangea, where you see all the continents kind of fitted together. But anyway, that kind of coincides with the flood account, because the way the flood account reads, there was some tectonic activity that separated things. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees on the earth bearing fruit according to their kind, with seed in them." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, plants yielding seed according to their kind, and trees bearing fruit, with seed in them according to their kind. And God saw that it was good. And it was evening and morning, a third day. This kind of points back to the earth was a formless and desolate emptiness. He had not stocked our planet yet with plants to eat. There was no life here yet. This was the introduction of life right here. The plants he created first. When you think about the progression of the living things that God created, they progressed from simpler forms. In the case of plants, they are not animated as other living things are. Even single-celled organisms, are more animated than a plant is. But anyway, we go from simple to a little more complex. And here we go. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and they shall serve as signs, and for seasons, and for days and years. And they shall serve as lights in the expanse of the heaven to give light on the earth." And it was so. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He made the stars also. God placed them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, and to govern the day and the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. As I was saying before, we see stars, and we don't know those stars are still there. The light is still traveling here, at least thousands of years later in some cases. But when you look at "let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night," the writer, Moses, is talking about the sun and the moon. And they shall serve as signs and for seasons. The position of the sun in the sky, you can, if you've been in an area for a while, you could walk outside on a day that's the same temperature as another day in the opposite season and just look at the sun if you've been paying attention and tell, what, is it summer? Is it winter? So anyway, obviously the sun is for days, the moon is for nights. When it says they shall serve as lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, the sun, most days, if there's not a bunch of clouds out, it's going to be well lit outside. When the moon is out, so to speak, and not in the shadow of the earth at night, we're going to have some moonlight. It's pretty neat to think about the moon in this case. Nations have risen and fallen on the cycles of the moon. It's been used in military planning for a very, very long time. And it can be an advantage and a disadvantage. God made the two great lights, the greater light to govern the day, that would be the sun, and the lesser light to govern the night, that would be the moon. And when you think militarily, the moon does govern the night. I mean, you could be on a moonlit night, a full moon, and if there's no clouds out, you could navigate easily without artificial light giving your position away. So So it really does govern the night. Anyway, again, here's this same language. And there was evening and there was morning, a fourth day. This was not millions of years. This was a day, the fourth day. But another thing about the fourth day is, and this kind of points back to belief in God. If you ever wanted a simple thing to look at and kind of meditate on and ask yourself, is God real? It's eerie to me to think about how many times we see that sun and how many times we see that moon. And we don't put together that they're the two biggest, brightest things in the sky from our perspective here on Earth. And when they're in equal conditions, like overhead, with the same humidity and everything like that, full moon versus, full sun, they look exactly the same size. But the moon is 400 times closer and 400 times smaller. And the sun is 400 times larger and 400 times further away. It's really quite amazing that they look the same size. It's calculated, it's measured, it's engineered, and it's for us to look at that phenomena of a planet having a moon near it and a star near it that appear the same size from the perspective of the surface of that planet. It has never been observed anywhere else. It has only been observed in the place where there are humans to see it. That calculation, it's amazing. How do we look at those things and not say, someone did that for us? The moon just happens to be a very light color and reflect light well. What if it was a big lump of something black? It wouldn't reflect light efficiently. It's a very well thought out and carefully designed thing, the moon is. But anyway, I like to see total solar eclipses, and it's just amazing to me how eerie and just chilling it must have been to see that for the first time way back. People probably thought the world was about to end, to see the sun cover up or the moon cover up the sun. It must have been crazy until they understood it. But anyway, I think I'm done for today. I don't have a lot of energy, so anyway, we made it to, I guess, verse 19 of Genesis. But it was just kind of on my heart to nerd out a little bit in that again, and look at how God mocks our best and brightest with the first verse of the Bible. In the beginning, time, God, force, created action, and the heavens, space, and the earth, matter. And again, the Holy Spirit of God, that's His power and energy inside and outside of our universe. I'm going to get back to that at some point, and I want to explain the Trinity, the triune God, and kind of point to ourselves to show how we really are created in His image. But anyway, thank you for going this far. You're apparently interested in understanding the Bible if you made it here. I thank you for watching. And if you like what I'm doing, subscribe, share, and like. And if there's something you'd like to see covered, let me know if I think it can be used to help people understand or, glorify God. I'll definitely look into it. But anyway, let's have a good day, and I hope you leave here with more understanding than you had to begin with. Bye.